Hell yeah.
Cool. Now, I was writing something the other day, and it just kind of like opened up a whole different way of like getting this character through the story. Because like when you're writing something, it's kind of like you're trying to get a character all the way to the end, you know, in a way that one is enticing, and then two makes sense for you to tell that story. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And there's like you watch movies sometimes where there's like tidbits of like, oh, I like this part of that character, but the story sucks.
Right.
You know? And so matching the story with the intentions of the character are very hard. And sometimes you misplace a character in the wrong story.
Right.
You know? Interesting.
So much to it.
Yeah.
So much to it. But does it come like instinctually now, since you've been doing it for so long?
I think certain things are instinctual, if you can call it instinctual, but like, I think what I've realized is like when I'm writing something and I'm trying to like wrap up a scene, when I'm trying to wrap up a scene, I have to go back to like, okay, what does this character actually want here? And then when I figure out how to wrap that scene up, it's like, oh, he wants it. He doesn't just want to get here. He wants to get here a certain way for a certain reason. Mm-hmm. And that's why he's talking to this guy this way.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, I got to change that scene 10 scenes in the past to show the audience that he wants this, but he doesn't know it yet.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of like the process that I go through is as I'm writing, I'm figuring out, oh, okay, that's why this has to be worded a little differently or changed a little bit differently. So it's kind of like moving and then rewriting, moving and then rewriting, moving. And then when you get to the end, it's like, oh, this ending is not what I was thinking, but this makes the most sense for the character. And now I have to make it so apparent that this is the end, this is the right ending for this character at the very beginning.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that's when you really are writing a good story.
Right.
Where you're like, oh, I see it in the beginning.
And that's just for one character.
And that's just for one character. Yeah.
God.
And the more characters you put in to really, to really make it make sense, you got to do that for the other characters in their own way. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, I was talking to somebody on Friday, and he was like, "I've got a writer friend who writes crime, and it's non-emotional. It's all like they went to the bank, they got the money." And then the policeman showed up at 12 o'clock, but they were out by 11:45. And it's like, that's the type of mind that kind of goes towards crime. It's very systematic, and it lacks kind of an emotional depth with the character internal conflict, right? But those are still great stories,
right?
You know what I mean? But to make that story even better, you show the inner conflict. The inner emotionality. And that's hard for certain writers. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It's like there's different types of people who are into science. Mm-hmm. Some people are just, it's all about the body. They love the approach to anatomy, right? And then some people just like numbers.
Yep.
And they're data driven, right? And they're like, oh, I love the scientific data that showed, but it's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's
interesting how everybody's wired.
Yeah.
And what determines that?
Yeah.
What determines that?
Yeah. I mean,
is it environmental factors?
For sure. I think, yeah.
Or is it a combination of environmental factors and
it's gotta be
genetically predisposed to certain things?
Yeah. It's gotta be. I was thinking about this, and I'm going to talk to. So I spoke with this philosophy professor through DMs this week, and
Okay.
she's ready to jump on a podcast and be
Heck yeah.
really, really cool. And her specialty is epistemology, which is the study of knowing, the study of knowledge, how we know, and what we know and how we know it. So, can we make objective claims about reality and knowing reality?
Whoa.
Right.
Yeah.
Deep.
Super deep. Like, where do you start? How do you study something like that?
Well, yeah, concepts of objectivity and subjectivity. Is there something objective that we can all agree on? Right?
Right.
So, yeah. So it's deep, but it's not mathematical.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, when I talk to, I'm going to ask her about this because she wrote a book, the book Doorway to Artistry.
That's the lady?
Yeah. So I'm getting her on the podcast.
Whoa.
Yeah, dude.
Right on.
Yeah. And so I'm going to talk to her about this because I've seen this in people where people who consider themselves intelligent, right? Slippery slope.
Very
right?
slippery.
I'm so smart. If I don't understand it, it's not worth understanding, or it's silly, or
Right. It's not not my truth.
yeah, it is not the truth.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand it.
Right.
And it's like, okay, all right, strange way of going about living.
Yeah.
But people who are into the hard sciences, right, which is math, right, and I guess physics, right, they struggle with philosophy. I think just because of like it's a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
And that's just not naturally how they go about thinking.
Yeah. I can definitely relate because I'm a science background and I feel like I'm being reintroduced or introduced to a different language every time you're talking philosophy. I'm just like, okay. And I got to like go process and digest. So, and then come back and we talk about it. But
Yeah.
Totally relatable.
So I think the same thing happens with very creative people too, is they're so abstract sometimes that condensing that abstract thought into a systematic, logical understanding is foo-foo. It's like, no, you can't. You're losing the majesty of the abstract when you condense it into a logical process of thought. And both of them are just doing it because it's just not the way they think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's very interesting because like I would never, if a physicist just shows up one day and I'm talking to a physicist, right, and they're explaining the physics of a NASA launch, you know, or the orbit of the moon around the Earth or whatever, some astronomical thing that's going on. I wouldn't say, well, that sounds like faith to me. That sounds like woo-woo, simply because I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
Right? But they do that with a whole branch of study that they don't understand. And for some reason, that is okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah. But it happens.
All the time.
Yeah, and her book is such a good book because it shows artists a way to think philosophically that can improve their creativity because it improves their relationship with reality. And that is what artistic expression actually is.
Exactly.
You know, you feel certain things, and in that feeling and with this imaginative mind that God's given you, you express it and work through it in some type of work, some type of, you know, artistic expression. And now she's written a book that kind of like explains what you're doing philosophically.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I haven't had the opportunity to dive into it. I ordered it. I have the book. Just haven't dove in. So it's a simple read, a deep read.
I think it's pretty. Yeah, the way she writes, she breaks it down in a way that anybody can grasp.
Okay.
And that's what I like about her, which is something that philosophy professors struggle with. They struggle with expressing these high concept ideas in simple terms.
Yeah.
But that's a funny, it's an interesting thing in that world, because that stuff's so important. Like relationship with reality. Like people are struggling out here thinking that nothing matters, you know?
Ugh.
And then you've got people who like spend their entire life like breaking down what meaning is and what truth is and what goodness is and what beauty is. And they're speaking this high academic language and not like condensing it and putting it into digestible bite-sized portions for people struggling at a 9-to-5 with 3 kids, you know,
Yeah.
just getting by.
Yep.
And it's like but that takes a certain type of heart, you know? And what's interesting is people who are academic philosophers don't necessarily have that type of heart.
Yeah.
They've got the mind to understand these concepts, but they don't have the heart to kind of spread the good news.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Very fascinating.
Yeah. When did you kind of find out or figure out that you like enjoyed like philosophy and like deep thinking and deep conversations? What was like that moment, or if you can identify it?
Yeah, well, I think when we were in Baltimore walking at the park, it was reading the Bible. It was reading Proverbs.
Okay.
Where the writer of Proverbs says, you know, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding are greater than any riches, you know, any gems, riches. And I was like, what? Hold on, this is a king who has all that stuff, has 900 concubines, 500 women or something like that, or wives. And he's saying those 3 things are the most valuable. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what is the study? How do you get wisdom? And it's like, well, that's what philosophy is. Philosophy is the love of wisdom, the study of wisdom. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know there were other sources for the understanding of philosophy. Like I didn't know the depth at which philosophy entails through the history of man, like coming to understand certain concepts. So when I was in 8th grade, the summer after my 8th grade year, between 8th grade and 9th grade, going into high school, I cleaned windows with a guy. And with that money, I went to Barnes & Noble and I saw a bunch of Bruce Lee books, or maybe just like 2. And I was like, oh, shoot. And I bought his book. And I just was like blown away at how he perceived things. Because he related philosophical concepts to martial arts and even mathematical concepts to martial arts. Like,
what's the book?
It's the Tao. Oh yeah, Jeet Kune Do, the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. Hold on, it's right here. Dude. Jeet Kune Do. This is the book, man. And it's like got all his like training methods, and like it's got like pictures that he drew.
Oh wow.
Of like strikes and technique and like different ways to throw one strike.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. And I was like, oh wow, he broke this down in such a interesting way. I've never heard. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna read something. Let's see what he says. So if you have mastered a system of gung fu, after you have mastered it, you have to let go of it and head for a higher level. Do not hold to what you have. It is like a ferry boat for people who want to get across waters. Once you have got across, never bear it on your back. You should head forward. And you're like, whoa, okay, wow. But he's like, it's like he's through martial arts, he's kind of like gaining wisdom.
Right.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He has things like, okay, the man who is really serious with the urge to find out what truth is has no style at all. He lives only in what is. I mean, he's influenced by a lot of Eastern philosophy.
Right.
He was very Taoist in his approach.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Is your choice pattern forming a screen between you and the opponent and presenting you a total and fresh relationship with him? You know? So is your choice pattern forming a screen between you and your opponent, presenting you a total and fresh relationship with him? So your choice pattern, so people get in martial arts and in performance or whatever, people get locked into a certain way about doing things. And it's like when you're locked in that pattern of, I always throw a hook like this in this rhythm, right? Is that giving you a fresh look at your opponent? Meaning, should you be throwing it in that choice pattern with this type of person?
Right.
Who's too quick for that type of movement?
Right.
Are you getting in your own way by your choice pattern?
Got it.
You know? So I read this book and I was like, dude, this is crazy. And I'm like, 14 years old.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Me at 14 years old, I was not reading books.
Yeah.
Definitely not. I couldn't stand reading. I mean, my parents encouraged me to read, but this wasn't my thing. I don't know if it was the dawn of like video games, and I just never found any meaning behind reading at that young of an age.
Yeah.
But now it's like definitely a different story.
Yeah. Well, I stopped wrestling that year too. And I had convinced myself that I was never going to wrestle again. But I loved watching Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee. And then I got that book and I was like, oh, I can do something else. Like, I love this type of movement and striking and stuff like that. And there's something to this. And then I started, delving into it more. And then I started training like he talked about in his book on my own.
Okay.
So I think that's why I was able to read it, because that was like a subject matter that I was like, oh, wow, I'm super interested in.
Okay.
I mean, there's probably not that many people that write about running in that type of way.
For sure. Which kind of reminds me, it makes sense. I was interested in the book about Roger Bannister, like the first time,
Breaking the 4-minute
mile. So that was fascinating. So I guess it's just like got to be more interested in it. But again, just for me to like go to Barnes and Noble just to buy a book, I'm like, not happening. Yeah. So yeah. But were your parents like big readers?
My mom made us read in the summer.
Okay. At
the local library book club.
Okay.
Or whatever. You kind of like have a list of books, or like you get points for reading certain books and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I think our library had like certain books had like a red dot taped on the spine, or a green or a blue, and those books were worth different points. Okay. So you tried to hit a certain point goal for the summer.
Then you get like a free pizza.
Something. Yeah. What kids really work hard for.
Yeah. That's what I remember. Yeah, the book club or whatever at school. It's just like, okay, we read these books, get it signed off by your parents. Yeah. Then you get like a free like pizza. Right. But my parents, they signed off on it even if I didn't read. Yeah. Or I said I would, but yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
That's funny.
They wanted some pizza too.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Nice. Do you remember what type of pizza it was?
Pepperoni.
Right. It's always pepperoni. For some reason, no one complained about pepperoni cheese pizzas when we were kids, Mm-hmm. Nobody was complaining about being lactose intolerant. You just ate that shit.
I know.
Nobody was like, I'm a vegan. I can't do the meat.
Right.
You're just like, I'm a kid and I like pizza.
Right.
Could you imagine?
Gluten.
God, could you imagine being a librarian now with all these kids? Like,
Yeah.
You're barely getting paid a decent salary. And you spend a little bit of money on some pepperoni pizza for these kids to celebrate. And they're like, yeah, I don't do pepperoni. My mommy said that killing animals is like, and you're like, I'm going to punt this kid.
Yep. My God. Do they even have Pizza Hut out here?
Yeah, they do. Not many, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, what was I going to say about reading? Oh, and my dad read.
Okay.
My dad would read. I think it was interesting to me because, like, my dad would be like, what are you reading in school or something like that? And he's like, yeah, I remember that book. I remember, I think it was sophomore or junior year. Might have been junior year. We read Walden. Did you guys have to read Walden by Henry David Thoreau?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was deep.
Yeah,
That was
dude.
really deep.
It's so deep. I still got it.
Okay.
It might even be here somewhere. But
Yeah, that was deep.
yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was hard to get through. I didn't grasp everything.
What age?
Maybe 16, 17.
Okay.
So-
Yeah, it was high school.
Yeah.
Me as well. English, lit.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Why is this? I think he like lived out in the wilderness by himself. I'm like, why would you want to do that? It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, dude. It was only me and a buddy of mine, Kyle Martin, actually read the book.
okay.
Everybody else is like, nah, I just read the Cliff Notes.
Oh, Cliff Notes, dude. That was the go-to.
Yeah.
That's how I got by.
And we loved it, man. And I really enjoyed it. But my dad was like, oh, yeah, I remember reading that. That's a really good book. You'll really enjoy that. And I was like, I'm reading it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really liked that one. And then when I got to college, I was like a philosophy minor.
Okay.
And
What did that entail?
a few classes, you know. And then my last semester, dude, and the last class I needed to actually get the minor, I dropped.
What was the class?
It was existentialism. It was something to existentialism. So it was like a certain period of time in philosophical thought and like looking over like the progression of it. And I think we had gotten into Hegel. You ever heard of that guy? Mm-mm. And it was just like, it was over my head. I was enjoying it, but it was over my head. And I had to do too much reading to stay up to date with it and to actually, take the class seriously. Mm-hmm. And I was in my last semester in film school, so I was like, I just don't have the time for this. Like, I don't want to stress this much my last semester.
Right. Damn.
Really. And I really liked the professor. And me and this one girl really enjoyed the class, and we both sat in the front, and we were always asking questions and stuff. And so I think it was like the week before or the week of, when you can drop a class. Maybe you have 10 weeks or so
Yeah.
till you can drop it.
Yep.
And I dropped it that week, and I saw that girl in the hallway, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" She was like, "Hey," she's like, "I'm so sorry to hear that you dropped the class." And I was like, "Yeah, how'd you hear that?" And she was like, "Well, the professor told everybody." And
What, stood up in front of class?
yeah,
We're sorry, class. Just wanted to let you know that Cody Lowe would not be in the class anymore. And
literally.
just want to let you guys know that's what quitting looks like. So don't fucking quit.
Literally.
Okay.
Because she said nobody asked.
Yeah.
He just started the class and told everybody.
Did everybody know who you were or something? Were you like a huge contributor to the class?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I was. Maybe I was just like that idiot in the front row.
Oh,
I don't know.
you're a front row sitter?
For that class, yeah.
Okay.
For that class. Just because I could ask questions and it was interesting.
Yeah.
You a front row sitter? Lame.
That guy.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm like, damn, what did he say? And she said, he just said that you couldn't handle all the reading, so you decided to drop the class. And I was like, oh, wow, I didn't know he Had to say that. That's fascinating. It's true. I said it's true, but damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's no confidentiality agreement that
Yeah.
needs to be signed.
Yeah. I guess not.
Put you on full blast.
Yeah.
Was there like a Facebook page announcement as well?
Right. You'd think there would be. But I think there was like, I was the jock in that class.
Got it.
And
Did the teacher take it personally?
I think he might have. I think because he was a philosophy professor. He was not an athletic person. You know what I mean? And I think you and I have realized the older we get that like people hold on to those like bad events and memories from high school being bullied.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I've had he was a professor who did that. My 3 film professors talked to me like that. Told me that I was just a jock. I told you that, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, dude, it's
I don't
funny.
think so. Yeah.
I have my senior review. No, yeah, my senior review, and they're like, when you came into the program, you seemed like just like a jock that didn't care about movies, but you kind of proven that you do. I say thanks. I guess I appreciate that. All right. Well, anything else?
Yeah. Was there no other jocks in your class?
No. Yeah.
Not even in philosophy class? I guess that is pretty rare.
Yeah.
Because again, the negative connotation behind jocks or whatever, just kind of like, oh, just do what they can do to get by. They have tutors. They're pushed along for the athletics.
Yeah. And I think I dressed like a pretty boy too.
Okay.
Like I had the fro hawk.
Okay.
Had that whole thing.
Double pop collar.
No, I never popped a collar.
Okay.
But I did try to dress okay.
Yeah.
But the hair and the gel,
Yeah.
it's
Gold chain.
no chain. I never wore a chain.
Okay.
But yeah, it doesn't help your image,
Dang.
Doesn't help.
What's the overall intention behind that? Just telling the class, making an example out of somebody.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He couldn't hack it. You guys can.
Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay, cool. But no, I was like that class shy of getting the minor.
Okay.
And when I was in college, like the classes I took were interesting, but I could never get a professor to give me a straight answer on what they thought. And I was like, what is this? Because I grew up in the church getting someone's opinion. Like this is what I believe.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, okay. So everybody's like that, right? You get to college and you have these professors that are like, these people think this and these people think this. What do you think about it? And you're like, geez, I don't know. What do you think? Well, maybe your opinion can help inform mine because like I'm hearing this shit for the first time. What do you think? I don't know. I want you to think about it. Yeah, I am, man. I'm struggling with it. I really don't know. What do you... You're the professor. What do you think? What do you think's true here?
Is that just philosophy class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every professor would never give me a straight answer.
Is there like some kind of like code? Us as philosophy teachers, we can't disclose our opinions because that'll...
Possibly. But also, I think that there is a relativistic dogma that like a lot of philosophy professors get into. Instead of making a hard stance on something, they play relativist. And they're like, well, to you, it could be true. It could be true to you. And it's like, oh my God, dude, like, that's not helping me.
Yeah.
And it's not true. You know what I mean? Like if I think Brett Kirchner is Asian, that ain't helping me.
Right.
He ain't Asian. You know what I mean? Like we can be objective about this.
Exactly.
So then I kind of went through this like phase of like not really knowing like what I believed because I was hearing all these things about arguments against God and the only arguments I knew for the idea of God were strictly biblical, not like theological. And I was like wondering for like maybe 2 years, like my senior year, I was kind of like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'd never thought about not believing in God.
Yeah.
So then, and this is what happens with a lot of students when they go to college and they start taking like freshman philosophy 101. It's just all doubt, like skepticism and like nihilism. And it's like, what matters? I don't know. You create your own meaning. And you're like, what? Oh, I guess that's right. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's right.
Yeah.
You know?
Feels good.
Yeah, it feels good. I don't have to hold myself to other people's standards, you know? Like, I create my own standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And then you get a bunch of other guys who are just as dumb as you, and you're like, this makes sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Jocks.
Yeah.
Jocks stick together.
Yeah, we're idiots, right?
Yeah.
And we love it.
I own that shit.
So I was like, and then I left college and I was like kind of like lost there. And then I started coaching wrestling. And that guy was who the head coach was the head of the philosophy and theology department of the school. And that's where he was like, he actually showed me how to think.
Wow.
Which was, it started with truth claims. And it went against everything that like college professors were doing, which were, you know, they were saying, well, it could be true for you. And then John, my buddy John, is like, was that statement true? Well, I was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, is the statement, is that true for you? Is that true? Like, oh, okay. And I was like, I never thought about that. And he's like, a lot of people like to say there is no truth, right? It's only what's true for you. And then when you ask, well, is that first statement, there is no truth, is that true? It's got to be true or false.
Right.
Right? And if it's true, then there is something that's true.
Right.
And then if it's false, well, then we know that there's something that's true.
Right.
And I was like,
deep.
Dude, so many classes in college could have been like, you know, I could have had more clarity during it if that would have been like day one.
Right.
You know what I mean? But a lot of people, when you start making claims like that, like, oh, there is truth, well, then there's accountability. Mm-hmm. Accountability starts creeping up with when you start making truth claims.
Yep.
Oh, that's true? Okay, well then what has to be done because it's true? Ah, shit.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I got to act different. Ah, fuck. Okay. Got it. I'm 21, 22. No. I got certain urges I want to get out. I don't like thinking about like responsibility with women, and that doesn't suit me.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense for a lot of guys in their 20s to kind of go down that, like, I'm not going to think about that stuff and hold myself accountable and make those truth claims. But I met John and I was like, oh, this is what I'm actually looking for, you know? And then we would just read stuff. He'd give me stuff to read. He's like, go home and read these pages, and tomorrow we'll talk about it at practice.
Okay.
While we're coaching.
Nice.
And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I will coach for free now. Like, you don't have to pay me at all. I will show up just to work out and then talk about philosophy.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened.
How long did you guys do that for? It's like a couple seasons?
Yeah, like maybe 3 or 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, 3 maybe, 3.5, something like that. But yeah, man, that was just like, yeah, I mean, it's like learning how to be a carpenter, working with a carpenter all day. Mm-hmm. It's like you will pick it up, you know. And what he really loved was when he was teaching the kids, he's like, it's hard to get through guys. Like, a lot of guys struggle with philosophy and thinking like this in high school. Because, you know, they're just like, they want to play sports, you know, when They don't want to get into their head that much. They want to get physical.
Yeah.
But he was like, girls really pick up on it. Yeah. And he was like, it's really interesting to see girls realize, oh, I can understand this, you know? And he's like, he really loved teaching people how to think.
So interesting that the concept of teaching someone how to think.
Right. And you're like, well, I know how to think.
Yeah.
You can't. Who do you think? Why are you the authority on thinking here? You know?
Yeah, like the methodology of thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a methodology to it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have never even analyzed their own.
Yeah. So break that down for me.
So just that, like, you know, you don't realize how much emotion plays into your reasoning.
Yeah.
When you're 20, 21, 22, and you're trying to bang chicks, you know, as a dude, you don't want to accept the truth that this might not be the best way of going about it. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't feel like what you want to do.
Gotcha.
You know? And that's where you really mature. Is when you get past the feelings that you have and find the deeper truth, and accept it and be like, you know what? Even though I feel this way, I know that there's something better, more true, good, and beautiful in another way of being. But a lot of people don't like doing that.
Yeah, it's like...
I mean, who does?
Yeah.
Who actually likes it when it's thrown at them?
Yeah.
No one.
Because they're going to have a feeling or emotion behind that notion as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that reminds me of my mom and dad yelling at me.
Right.
And I'm not going to get yelled at or made to feel this way ever. And so I'm okay the way I am.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then what really what's really sad in a way is you see people who have not figured out how to think properly have kids. And then they don't know how to like tell their kid, hey, this is wrong because of this.
Yeah.
And they're just saying, well, you know, I'd prefer that you not do this, you know, because I feel like it might make some things in your life harder for you. Yeah. But, you know, you do what you feel is right.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope.
My feelings are not right, dude.
Yeah. Especially as a, 8, 9-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, you have to understand, like, the reasoning behind, you know, why I'm saying what I'm saying.
Right.
It's just like, don't do it because dad told you not to do it.
Right.
That's a terrible, terrible belief system.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this because my dad told me not to do it. But why? There's more meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Again, consciously, you know, taking the time to explain it and break it down and not make it about what dad wants, but make it about what is actually being said.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard, man. I see those parents struggle in guiding their kids. Because it's like, what are you standing on? What foundation of logic are you standing on right now with what is good? Mm-hmm. And a lot of them they haven't thought about it. And then it's the worst time to actually have to figure it out, because now you got a kid who's in their teenage years just doing whatever they want because you've been so loose with them. And now you're like, well, all right, well, how do I convince them that, you know, there is a right and a wrong when I've told them they can do whatever they feel is right their whole life?
Right.
And I don't even know how to decide on what's right and wrong because I did that my whole life.
Yeah.
But now I see that I shouldn't have done that. I should have made a better, I should have thought deeper about these things because now it's affecting my children.
Yeah. For sure. No, I mean, I feel like I've been personally unpacking that as far as, you know, how I'm parenting Asher, you know, my child, and breaking it down like, okay, what am I saying to him? How am I delivering it to him? And it's honestly, I'm just what I guess find the most comfort in is like going back and thinking about how it was delivered to me as a child. Just like, is that like the best way? No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
Kind of like relearning, or just learning how to parent a child as I parent myself, basically.
Yeah.
How would I, as a child at 9 years old, want this message to like be delivered? So just think about it from that standpoint.
Yeah.
'Cause again, we're still children. Just
Yeah.
because we're 36 years old doesn't mean like that childlike self is not in there.
Dead. It's all there.
It's all there. So it's just like, how do parent myself every single day with my feelings and emotions, and
Yeah.
not letting them get spiraled out of control and making it about me. And if Asher does something wrong, it's not about me. Why am I going to take ownership for his actions, and vice versa? So just again, just taking the time to sit down with them and have that dialogue versus just like, no, you're wrong, what you did was wrong, and go to your room, and let what I'm saying. So
Yeah, but you have that dialogue with yourself. So
Every
you can
day.
have it with Asher.
Every day, it's a tough dialogue to have.
Yeah.
I mean, will the dialogue ever go away?
Right.
Yep.
Right. It's building a relationship with that dialogue. You talk about that a lot.
Yep.
That the judgmental Brett or judgmental Cody, like we're always conversing with him,
Yep.
and whether we allow him to dominate the conversation or not is up to us.
Exactly.
Right? Courtney was talking to somebody about potentially doing therapy.
Okay.
And you know what her response was? The reason why she was scared of it, and this made a lot of sense, but I'd never thought that this was something that other people thought. She said, "I don't want to find out that I'm not a good person."
Whoa.
And I'm like, I think about that every day. Like, I'm always telling myself, am I doing this right? Okay, I need to do this.
Yeah.
All right, what's the idea here? What's the better idea that I'm aiming towards? Okay, well, I got to do this then, But her reason for not doing it was like, I don't want to find out that I'm not a good person. So to me, what that says is she doesn't let her think that she's not a good person. Think about...
What is her definition of a good person?
She probably hasn't thought about it. Because if you think about that too long, then you'll have to compare that idea with you.
Yeah. And you'll feel
And you'll be like,
unworthy, not
and you
enough,
won't feel like a good person.
and ultimately like you're not loved.
Wow.
That's really what it boils down to.
If I'm not a good person, I'm not loved or not worthy of being loved. Dang.
Yeah. I mean, because I feel like that's the baseline of everything. Everybody wants to feel love.
Yeah. But see, that's what a lot of people don't get about the message of Christ, is you are imperfect.
Yeah.
And you are not this great, perfect person that you think you should be. But I love you anyways.
Yeah.
God loves you anyways. And there's grace here for you.
Yeah. 100%.
That's
all part of it. That's
Did
the
it?
full package. There's just not like good.
right.
There's always bad.
Yeah.
It's finding that balance.
Yeah.
There is a balance.
Yeah.
But also the grace is a huge component as well.
Yeah.
It's a hard concept. And again, I can totally relate. Not loving myself or beating myself up. And again, I think it's just like a learned behavioral pattern because it wasn't taught. I didn't really understand how to think about grace. We learned about it in church and we read it in the Bible and, by the grace of God and et cetera, et cetera. But what does it actually mean? Like finding the meaning behind like grace.
Yeah. What does that look like lived?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot to think about.
It's being comfortable with falling short, but falling short in whose eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Is it your eyes, other people's eyes, God's eyes?
Right.
So,
yeah. But yeah, I don't, it was interesting to hear that. I don't want to realize I'm not a good person. And I think a lot of people, I mean, realizing that you're not the best person
yeah.
is like a huge step in your growth.
Yeah.
It's kind of like any addict, the acceptance, the awareness that, hey, I've got an addiction here. That's where the growth starts.
Yeah. But on the other side of that therapy is understanding this, basically, understanding that balance of, yeah, I'm not a good person all the time, or I haven't been.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Right.
Because I'm going to learn how to give myself grace and love myself in a different way.
Right.
So I can love others and not feel this way right now.
Yeah.
So it's a big step, man. It's,
yeah.
I guess I know we talk about this.
Spin that mic towards you. There we go. Yeah.
Check.
Yeah. Get that deep voice in there.
I know it's a huge step, and for people to, go through like therapy and certain, therapy modalities and whatnot. And for some reason, it's hard for me to, I guess, I can empathize with that because we were once there in some sense, but I just don't feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
It's hard to feel that way anymore because it's like, because of the impact of what therapy has done.
Yeah.
Again, like, I proposed, this kind of therapy to, someone in my life at a certain point, and then their response that still kind of lingers in my head. It's like, I feel like, what I've been doing is, enough. And I feel like if I have this therapy, it's gonna just be so overwhelming and too much for me to handle and unpack in one time. Like, yeah, that's true, but it's just like life's too short, like, so I don't even know how to respond to that.
Yeah. I'm trying to think too. I'm like,
it's like, that's part of the process of surrendering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surrendering to the process of growth.
Yeah. But again, I think a lot of people don't find the value in growth.
Why?
Because they're comfortable with present day reality, and they just stuck in the ways and are, again, just comfortable and feel like, change is hard.
Yeah.
Change is hard, and it takes an effort, and if I can just skirt on by and distract myself with other things, but that underlying stuff's always going to be there.
Yeah.
And might eventually come out in some point in time.
Yeah, that's what I always go to is like, if I don't work on it now, it's going to pop its ugly head out somewhere in the future where it's going to be do or die.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the way I look at fitness. I stay in shape in the parameters of like kind of like fight shape, wrestling shape, because I would hate to have to defend myself and gas out. And I'm like, I can't do that. And if that day comes and I gas out and somebody gets the better of me because of that, I'll know that was on me.
Yeah.
Because your conditioning, as you know, is on you.
Yep. 100%.
As a runner, you're like, if you start gassing out on whatever lap, the last lap, you're like, fuck, I know why.
Yep. No, for sure. Damn.
And so, with our spiritual lives, I think we're the same way. It's like, with our wife, with our kids, there's going to come a time where it's like, okay, I got to show up as the better version of myself for this. Will I be able to tap into that?
Yeah.
I want to hopefully be able to, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I think about, like if I'm not like consciously, putting the effort into like growing, and it's just like that notion of regret. I feel like that's like the worst feeling. One of the worst feelings you could possibly experience is like regret. You know, after all these years, regretting this, should have did this, should have did that. I knew I should have in that moment, but my pride and ego or whatever was holding me back from it. I just don't want to be some 70-year-old man regretting things that I should have done.
I know, man.
I
know. Yeah, but that's most 70-year-old men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's tough, dude. That's
way, I don't know, that's just how I think, kind of thinking from the end, kind of like that whole notion of the Solomon, what would your older, wiser self tell you to do about this situation?
Yeah.
Which is a great tool to utilize.
Yeah, it is. Have you ever thought about, like, when you're 70, what you'll be doing?
70. Let's see. That's in
34?
34 years. Asher will be
a whole lifetime.
Yeah, basically.
Away.
Yeah, basically. I don't know, dude. I don't know. That's interesting. It could be definitely something of service.
Yeah.
100%, because I feel like that's the underlying purpose of my life, is in service to others. I mean, it's what I've been doing since I was a kid, whether it's, the missionary trips and, working in a nursing home and now in substance use, because I feel like that's what gives me the most meaning out of life, is being in service to others.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's interesting. Definitely not like living in some log cabin by myself, sheltering out from the world. Again, being in Joshua Tree for a day, total isolation. I'm like, this is nice, but there's only so much I can like take of this, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think? What's Cody Lowe going to be doing at 70?
I think I'm going to be doing this. Yeah. I think I'm going to be talking to like 20-year-olds.
Okay.
And still being able to connect with them. Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
That I'll be able to have gotten past. Yeah, and I feel like I am, getting past my own bullshit and be able to connect with people that are way younger than me when I'm 70.
Yeah.
Because I always admired that. I always admired the old wise man.
Who's still like hip.
Yeah,
still got it.
Yeah.
Still moving.
Yeah. Not stuck in his ways.
Yeah.
Not angry. Not a humbug. You know what I mean? And I guess able to take a joke. I think it's a very hard thing for men to do, because you get to a certain age and you're like, younger men should respect me. There's an age thing, and it's like, how do I get past that? Like, obviously it's true. Like, if you're a younger man, you should respect older men or older people because they've lived longer and they've experienced more. Now, they might not be right about things, but there's wisdom there. And if you don't have that respect, you'll never take it. You'll never even be able to receive it. You know?
But I feel like, should you respect an older person more than respecting a younger person?
No.
So it's just, I think, a baseline of respect just for people in general.
Yes.
I'm sure Asher is going to be teaching me things.
Yeah.
It's got to.
Yeah, for sure.
It's ignorant if you don't take wisdom from a younger kid or just another person in general that has lived a totally different life experience and has a different perspective on life.
Yeah. And then there's things that you forget about being young. You know what I mean? Like that charisma, that confidence and stuff like that. You're like, oh, shoot. Okay, I remember that. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They're at this phase, you know? And, you know, obviously because I like to help people, I would like to be a source for people to kind of see, not see a way to do it, but like, I think when you're young, you don't want to become what the majority of older people are, mm-hmm. which are closed off, stuck in their ways in a way that doesn't allow for open discussion.
Right.
You know what I mean? No, it's this way. You know, that's very abrasive to younger people. And I just don't want to be that. And I think that's what I would like. That's what I admired about my buddy John. When I met him, he was that. And I could talk to him about stuff. And there was a 20-year age gap between us. Mm-hmm. And I could still talk to him. And I was like, well, that's who I want to be. You know what I mean? Like more than anything, it's like I want to be that type of person when I'm older.
Yeah.
You know? I had my own goals and stuff I wanted to do with my life, but like as a person, I wanted to be more like this person, mm-hmm. you know? And I think I realize how important that is.
Yeah.
You know, in not giving up hope in becoming the old man that you thought should be, mm-hmm. you know? And then, so like in 34 years, I feel like I'll still be having conversations with young dudes, young people, and building relationships there.
Yeah. So much purpose behind that.
Yeah.
Being able to pass on your wisdom to this next generation.
Yeah. Because conversation is what people actually want. Like deep conversations are what you like, you know, that's why people go to parties, you know, like having a conversation like, I was talking to this one guy that night and we just kind of went down this bunny hole and talking for an hour and it was just like so refreshing to hear somebody, you know, connect on it. And you're like, I mean, that's powerful stuff, you know, sharing ideas, you know, for a long time sitting. There's an element of time involved too.
Yeah.
You know, that like a long conversation, like 2-3 hour conversation, it's almost like it pulls something out of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something that you didn't even know was there. Kind of like a long run.
Yeah.
You know, you can run 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, but until you do that 10, you're like, oh shit, I didn't know that was in me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
You get to know yourself on a different level. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to continue that somehow. I mean, obviously with the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
But obviously, I'd see myself doing other things, but I think writing is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. I'll continue until I die. Wouldn't that be interesting? You're going to die with an unfinished project. Every great writer had unfinished projects.
Yeah. Wow.
And you're just like, damn. That's it's like you're just writing till the end. Mm-hmm. Just living until the end. And then, an unfinished project will never be published. Or it might be published, you know, and as an unfinished project. But like, it's a fascinating thing. Because you meet a lot of people that aren't, like in their older life, they're not working on anything. There's no projects.
They're just retired and, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a totally different mentality these days. At least for me, like I can't. What does retirement look like? You know, stop working, but it's not really work if you enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I've heard people say that they're more busy in retirement than they were when they were working. But it's probably because they're doing what they want to do.
exactly.
You know, and I feel like, you know, I mean, the goal here is like, you know, build this podcast to where it's monetized, you know, and this can be like the main source of income. So all of my other time is freed up so I can do the writing I want to do and stuff like that. But I feel like my day would be so packed full of things to do. You know what I mean? I'd still be working out
Yep.
every day. I'd still be writing. I'd still have my projects. You know, I'd still be seeking collaboration with people with like business ideas.
Yeah.
Like you and hey, what do you want to do? All right, what are you thinking? All right,
Yeah.
cool. All right, well maybe we can do it. And I don't, you know, obviously not everybody's going to be like that, and I don't.
Yeah.
It's not like I need people to be like me, but it is interesting how people kind of lose that passion for life, passion for potential possibilities, you know? And I guess you feel for them. You know, you're like, damn, like, you still living, dude.
Yeah.
Do something.
So much more to life to experience.
Yeah.
That goes on in my head all the time. Like, I know that there's more to life than what I'm like currently experiencing.
Right.
Like that yearning, that hunger for, you know, more.
Yeah.
In a more positive way, you know.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause there's, yeah. But again, hearing you talk about like, you know, 34 years from now, but it sounds like you're doing what you're going to be doing in 34 years. You have that already in motion. So it's exciting to think about it in 34 years, just how it's going to progress and evolve and compound over time.
Yeah.
34 years.
Yeah. I just hope I'm cognitively able to have conversations.
Yeah.
Because 34 years to 70, close to Biden's age.
Oh. Yeah. Wow.
And it went downhill real quick for him.
It really did.
Like real quick. We witnessed it real quick.
Yeah, but I think people are living longer.
Yeah. And taking care of themselves.
And yeah, taking care of yourself. You don't drink. You're eating healthy.
Yeah.
Taking care of your body. And also, I feel like, you know, your brain's a muscle. So just keep using it. Keep strengthening it. You know, that's the way I look at it.
It makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, because it seems like a lot of people who have that cognitive decline don't realize they're having the cognitive decline. And you're like, damn, is that how it is? Like it's affecting you on that level that you don't even witness it or realize it.
Yeah.
And you're like, shit, okay, you're going to be unaware of losing your mind.
Right.
Great.
Wow.
I don't know if that's true, you know?
I mean, you can kind of look at it as like a good thing as well. Because what if you found it like, oh shit, I'm losing my mind. What am I gonna do?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's better to be aloof to the process.
Exactly.
Yeah, just hope I'm not president.
Yeah.
While losing it.
Yeah.
Damn. That's something that's changed for me too. Is like now that I'm in my 30s, is just looking at like men in certain roles of authority. You know, I don't need them to be some savior.
Right.
You know, I don't need it.
Right. Like, why are they a savior over me or a hierarchy over me?
Yeah.
I'm sure they struggle with the same shit or similar shit.
Yeah. Why do I need that?
Right.
You know? I think that's a hard question to ask yourself. And I think a lot of people don't, you know? But yeah, I don't. I think I think a lot of people are kind of coming around to that. Just because of like social media and like you're seeing like people candidly now, you know, like you think about video footage of like the highest authorities, like government leaders. You really only saw it in like very like scripted interviews,
Yeah.
Speeches and stuff like that, and you're like, wow.
The nightly news, but now it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you get them walking out of a courthouse.
Yeah.
You know, Trump talking shit walking out of a courthouse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then, you know, Biden falling off his bike. You know, it's like, God.
Yeah, they're human too.
Yeah, we're pretty human, all of us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I think it's a good thing. You know, but I could see how people are like fuck the whole system, and it's like, yeah. But now you sound like a teenager.
Exactly.
With your parents. It's like somebody's got to be there. You know, somebody's got to help you.
For sure.
There's got to be some type of support system going on here.
The system's not going away.
Yeah.
So just.
And if it does, well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna implement?
What's an alternative?
Yeah. Yeah. But like, yeah, people just like to see shit burn.
Yeah.
That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Dude, I was driving around yesterday. And I was like, you know, I've lived in LA too long because now I'm actually looking forward to seeing a jaywalker get ran over.
Okay.
Because that would make the world make sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? The world does make sense. Because, dude, people out here, when their feet hit concrete, they don't give a fuck. They're like, doing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When my feet hit concrete, I'm like, what? We're on a road meant for cars that are bigger than me, heavier than me, faster than me. Ain't stopping for me. But out here, nah, you stop for me, bitch. I'm on concrete. Stop for me.
Where was this?
I was cutting through a neighborhood in Brentwood.
Okay. Oh, Brentwood.
Brentwood.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. People slow down when they see you coming. Like walking. Isn't that fascinating out here? When you're coming up and they're walking across, they slow down.
They expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like that in the Baltimore area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
You better be like running across or, yeah.
That's how it should be. It's a road.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or use the crosswalk.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it's fair for. Yeah. But no, I was like, damn. I was like, you know what? I would probably just stop the car and look at the driver and be like, you all right? All right, man, get out of here. I ain't saying nothing. I saw him walking too. He should have looked at the car.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds very insensitive,
Right.
for sure.
It does.
But
There's some truth behind it.
come on, man. Like things are.
Take more accountability.
Yeah, take a little bit, just a little bit. But yeah, I was like, damn, this is a strange feeling. I've gotten to this point. I'm like, damn, what pedestrian would make me sad? Probably was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was a kid, I'd be like, oh man, dang. But if it was any grown adult, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't see nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't see nothing.
Some of these kids out here though, man.
Yeah.
Like for instance, where my apartment is, it's like close to a school, and the school lets out at 4:00. And Asher and I are always rushing to get home before the school lets out. So we literally, it's just this hordes of kids just walking in the apartment complex, just doesn't care. I'm like, literally, they're like right here. They just don't care. I swear some of these kids try and get hit.
Right.
You know, try and get hit.
Yeah.
Because my mom said, if you get hit, there's a lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's your college fund.
Yeah.
So I'm serious. It's
They
like,
probably
it's like a mentality, dude. These kids don't care.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the level of
There's a check coming.
yeah, the level of entitlement is just it's disgusting.
It's disgusting. Yeah, it is. Yeah, man. Yeah, you don't want to build that in your kid.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
You're not entitled to anything.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
No one gives a shit about you.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's and we talked about this before because, like, you're with the kid, you're raising an adult.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And you gotta teach them how to think.
Mm-hmm.
And any type of entitlement thinking is not conducive to growth.
Yeah.
But we see a lot of it.
All the time.
Yeah. But I would hate, I just would hate to like see my kid like one day like explain themselves like after doing something and explain themselves in a way that just shows like utter entitlement. And you're like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
That's me. That's on me. I messed this up somehow. Right?
I mean, partially.
Yeah.
You got to understand that they have so many different, there's so many different factors of, from them learning. You got going to school, you got social media, all that, and then at the home front. So it's just like, it's not always on you.
Yeah.
But some majority for sure.
Yeah.
But again, there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
A lot to it.
Yeah, man. That's wild. You ever think about, I mean, obviously you do, but hey,
Howdy.
having a conversation with the 35-year-old Asher.
Can't wait.
It's going to be wild, right?
It's going to be wild. Yeah.
Like getting workouts in, like when they're in their 20s,
Yeah.
and like having deep conversations after a set of like squats or leg press,
Yeah.
Courtney and I were talking last night about how important it is to have other people around your kids, so that they see you interact with them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's why I love when you come out.
Yeah.
Like he sees like dad's friend Cody and what that interaction is. And
Yeah.
he remembers like the little stuff.
Dude, he'll always remember that.
Yep.
I remember every time my dad brought a friend over, I was like, oh, that's cool. He'd work out with a couple friends of his. I just remember one, Kirk, he'd come over and they would sit at the dinner table and just laugh, telling stories. And we're just like, ooh, just laughing with them,
Yeah.
I'll always remember that. And, it kind of like builds something in you. Like, I want to have a friend like that. You know what I mean? And that's what friends are actually like.
Exactly.
If
Exactly.
you don't see it, you don't know it.
Yeah. It's a learning experience.
Yeah.
Everything's a learning experience, especially at that young of an age.
Yeah.
Definitely more like receptive. And again, they're learning how to learn.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Which is easily lost.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm rediscovering that in my life right now. It's like learning how to learn, learning my learning style and learning how to do different things that I'm not used to doing.
Right.
So
yeah. Anything pop into your mind?
Definitely with the reading aspect.
Yeah.
Learning how to sit still.
Right.
That's definitely a weird concept for me because I'm always just all over the place, or I have been for sure. But just the importance of learning, basically.
Yeah.
For the wisdom, and I think I've just rediscovered or discovered that just with our conversations, for sure, and getting more like philosophical.
Yeah.
So, because again, I'm a science brain.
Yeah.
So this is like that kind of thinking and communication it's different. So it's not necessarily comfortable, and it's like, and for me to communicate with philosophy is like new for me as well. Cause it's like, I'm still like processing, I guess probably using like a different part of my brain that I'm not used to using. But again, it's just going to be a matter of time and exercising that muscle.
Yeah.
Having these dialogues and conversations where I feel like I'm actually like, contributing to the conversation. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's what dude, how many people do that at our age?
I don't really know anyone.
Yeah.
No one around me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, most people by our age are like, just like, I know what I know, sticking with it.
Yeah.
That's my safety net.
Yeah.
It's going to keep moving forward.
It's interesting to see what people are doing, like our age, at least the people I went to high school with. Sometimes I go on Facebook, I'm like, married with kids, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm like, interesting. It's just interesting to look at where my path has like led me.
Yeah.
And that you just never know where it's going to lead you.
Yeah, you don't.
That's why, like, when you ask me, like, 34 years from now, where do you see yourself doing? I'm like, I don't know, man. It's so hard to even like think about because, 10 years ago, if you would have told me I'd be a father, flying solo, going back and forth to LA, having my own business, et cetera, I've been like,
nah,
there's no way. So, but what's great is being consciously aware that we're writing our own story.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously there's different factors that play in X, Y, Z, but like I said, limitless possibilities.
If you could look back at the last 10 years, what are some things, and we can just bounce ideas back and forth, obviously, but what are some things that kind of like stick out to you that, because you said something that was interesting, because like you said, if I thought back 10 years ago, I would not think that I would be where I'm at now, right? Something like that. So something happened, like things happen along the way to get you here.
Yeah.
Obviously. But now looking back, it's almost like you can like take lessons out of that 10 years and then apply it to the next 10 years. And obviously it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to be like, okay, I will be here in 10 years. But like there are things that are universal about the progress of the last 10 years. And then there are things that are like mysterious about like how things unfolded, and what actions led to certain things and changes in you, that are kind of like just kind of mysterious.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, 26, I found out I was going to be a father.
Yeah.
But again, in a relationship, it was a good relationship, but obviously temporary, how we met. But just understanding where I was looking for approval and also like an emotional connection. I was still in that frame of, how can I put this? Yeah, I was just seeking a feminine energy. I was in like relationship mode, like, just got out of a divorce and now I'm, I feel like I need to be in a relationship right now. And that was like what I needed to do. I'm 26 and that's like where my head was. And it was honestly just kind of like seeking the approval from like a female. Cause, that's what I did with my mom my whole entire life. It was just like a learned behavioral pattern since I was a little kid, kind of being that golden child and mama's boy and my mom's sounding board. So that's like that learned behavioral pattern. So looking back at all my relationships and just how I interacted with intimate or non-intimate, it was always just like, I'm a people pleaser. So just understanding that balance between pleasing people and being, I guess, true to yourself and just the importance of that, not making the same mistakes, you know, over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that was definitely, again, pivotal moment, because it's always been like, you know, seeking that, you know, approval and acceptance from the opposite sex has always been huge for me. Not knowingly.
Right.
Like feeling not complete if I'm not like in a relationship, or like, you know, providing for someone in some way, shape, or form in a relationship, and how I provide it in the relationship, not from a financial standpoint, but more like an emotional standpoint for females.
Yeah.
You know? So that's what like my role was in the matter, and it's not the whole entire picture of it. There's more to that.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, those relationships didn't work.
Yeah.
So I was just so caught up in that, you know, caught up in, relationships. It's, you know, with the opposite sex, and feeling like I had to find someone so I can get married and have kids and white picket fence. That's just how we are programmed.
Yeah.
You know, in my family at least.
Yeah.
You know, go to college, find yourself a nice Christian girl, and
Yeah.
you know, don't have sex before marriage, and all that. So I mean, it was a different mentality, and I was not even aware of it until a couple of years ago, and now it's just like, oh, okay, well, that mentality served you and kept you safe in that point in time, but it's not necessary.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, okay, let's establish some new mentalities and new ways of thinking.
Yeah.
So, which is very, very exciting.
Right.
I feel like I'm like not anxious, but like the desire for more. Like, oh yeah, I just had all these realizations and shifting my focus, and feeling like I'm conquering this, you know, aspect of my life that's kind of been, you know, not very serving for the bigger, you know, longevity picture, what I want to do in life. And I'm just like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready for like that next phase. So, but yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, something like thinking back on the last 10 years of my life, like I thought I'd be at a different place just because I kind of only saw myself doing a certain thing. And it was almost, I had limited my potential in many ways, because I thought I could only maximize myself through one vehicle. You know what I mean? And then through all these other things that I didn't ever want to do, I've grown from, like coaching. I never wanted to coach. Training. I never wanted to be a trainer. Stand-up comedy. I never wanted to do stand-up comedy. Podcasting. Never wanted to do a podcast. You know, and it's like, I didn't know any of that was going to be anything I was going to be interested in.
Yeah.
You know, so like maybe in 10 years, there'll be things I'm interested in that I didn't know I'd be interested in.
Yeah.
But I kind of, like in retrospect, can understand why I gravitate to these things now. Because I think I know myself a little bit more. You know? I was podcasting in my 20s, but not on a microphone, not in a room, not getting recorded on camera, but every day at wrestling practice, we'd stay after for like 2 hours talking about philosophy, about movies, about books, about everything, just talking. And I found so much meaning in those conversations. And then that was when podcasts were popping off, you know, 10 years ago. And so I just started to listen to podcasts, and I was like, oh, cool. Get to learn things from, people who are like specialists on certain things. And I was like, that's cool. Never did I think I was going to do a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize I was doing a podcast, just without the equipment.
Right. Yeah.
But that was my favorite thing to do, was sit around and talk.
Yep.
And I was like, damn, I'm not being productive. Like, I'm just talking, but I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm learning, especially when I'm talking to John, like I'm learning a lot. But it's like, dang, like I got to be productive about this. Like, how do I put this time into something that's closer towards my goals? And then the more I listened to podcasts, the more I realized I do this. Why am I not just recording it?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, that's actually productive.
Yep.
If I'm actually just recording what I'm doing, because these people are recording the same conversations that I'm having. I'm just not recording it.
Yeah.
As simple as that is, it's like I just never thought I could do it.
Yeah.
Or was even wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or was a thing. So, but I discovered that, like, this is what this is called. Now you've got an idea around sitting around and dialoguing and exchanging ideas and talking about stuff with people. It's called podcasting.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Up until, not too long ago, that was just like, I was hanging out,
I wonder what the next, like, big movement's going to be, as far as, like, virtually. Kind of something that I, like, visualize is, like, with these new, like, ocular goggles. Are we going to be able to put on our ocular goggles and tune into the Cody Lowe podcast, and Cody Lowe is going to be sitting in front of us, and then we got everybody else that's tuning in, and we can see them, and it's more like because everything, I just feel like everybody's just so digital.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
I totally see that.
Can you see, like, hey, let's tune into the Joe Rogan podcast, put on our goggles. Joe's in Austin, Texas, but we're out in California, and Joe can see the crowd if he wants as well.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like and you can just be sitting in the room.
Yeah.
And you can look at both people as they talk.
Yeah.
As if you're there. Yeah. That's wild. It's a wild, It's probably going to happen for sure.
Yeah. How can we get in on that?
Yeah, I don't know. Buy stock in Meta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the different ways of going about podcasting. I mean, it's even changing now. Like, most people aren't using, like, a lot of people are not using these microphones and are not using these.
Okay.
They're sitting in rooms on couches with small microphones.
Okay.
And no headphones, and just having a conversation in a room, like on the couch.
Is there any difference between the two?
No, I mean, you're less limited by the chair. Like, if I get up and walk, like, the microphone's not going to pick up.
Right.
I got to take these off. But like, if you're in a room and you're joking around, you got a camera that can see everything. Mm-hmm. You can kind of jump up and act something out, and kind of. So that's a little different, but.
This is the bread and butter.
But
this is the foundation of a podcast. I feel like once you get rid of the headphones and the microphone, it's more just turns into like a TV show. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Kind of. Yeah. I feel like this is more substance. It's got more character. Yeah. Versus that. So
I agree. And I think, I watched a guy, I watched a dude do a video on why podcasts are kind of like losing what they're supposed to be. And I'm going to paraphrase this, but he really nailed it. Everybody's trying to have specialists on their podcast, right? And talk about things. And then, the host of the podcast is just kind of like seeking out these people for their following.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if you got a big following, come on my podcast. That's going to bring more people to my podcast, and it's going to build my podcast. But you're building this, this business, podcast business, off of just getting big names with big followers. But the substance of what they're talking about is kind of lackluster, right? And then when you have all these quote unquote specialists on your podcast, you get a lot of contrarian or things that are contrary to each other, right? So you have a vegan specialist on, and then you have a carnivore diet specialist on, and you just let them talk and you ask them questions. And I mean, that's great. That's fantastic. But I think his point was like, why are you, I think you have to compare everything to Joe Rogan's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first one to really nail it. His thing, the way he does it is hard to replicate, and most people don't replicate it that way, and I think that's why they don't have the. I think that's why Joe Rogan's is so different. But what Joe Rogan actually does is he has a conversation with somebody, and he doesn't interview them. It's not an interview. And a lot of podcasts are just interviews, instead of, well, why'd you do that? It's almost like the host just wants to, okay, so you're now a news anchor.
Exactly.
And it's like, that's not what a podcast actually was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
It was two people talking.
Yep.
Which is kind of what an interview is, but it's not really a conversation amongst equals.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's still that interviewee instead of like just two people talking.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people have lost touch with that. And maybe it's just I think it's a very hard thing. It's a very hard thing. Because, I mean, how many people can you really have a genuine conversation with in your own life?
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of people are very, transactional in their conversations.
Yeah.
And that's what an interview is.
Yeah.
It's transactional. I'm asking you questions. You give me answers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Keeping them engaged.
Yeah. And then when you do that to somebody, especially if they know that that's what your thing is, well, then they're going to give you the snake oil salesman version of it instead of the real, I don't know, maybe this.
Yeah.
But if you're putting them on the spot, then they got to show up
a
certain way,
Yep.
So I feel like no matter how you do a podcast, in a room, on couches with little mics or whatever, it's the way you conversate that is the most important.
Yep.
Whether it's, you got Oculus VR, eventually you can watch podcasts. Dude, there's podcasts that I know I could take information from, but it's not going to be that insightful of a conversation on who that person actually is.
Right.
It's just going to be, and because I've watched so many, I've watched, when you watch Joe Rogan interview or talk with anybody, right? You really get to know that person differently. They bring up different subjects. They talk about different things. And then you watch that person on another podcast, and you're like, or 3 or 4 different podcasts, and they're getting asked the same questions and they're given the same answers. And then you compare those to Joe Rogan's podcast, and you're like, well, why did they talk about such different things? And it's like, oh yeah, well, it's the host of the podcast.
Exactly.
The
conductor of the podcast.
Right.
That's the make or break for sure.
Yeah.
Because again, I feel like there's a lot of people that get into podcasts for I don't know, I wouldn't say the wrong reasons, but just for putting out content, and they'll put out content that they probably don't even feel like talking about, but they'll put it out just because it'll probably gain traction, and you know what I'm saying? So there's not a lot of substance to it.
Right. Seems transactional.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's the hardest part about podcasting. It's not the setup. It's not the, technological thing. Because podcasts can be very broken down, just little microphones, one camera, but the way you conversate is such a personal thing.
It is. It is.
So I think that's more fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Can people pick up on that?
I feel like it's also learning your style as well.
Yeah.
Like for me, like going back and like rewatching this and just seeing how I'm like showing up, if I'm just like mellow, dramatic, and also just getting the reps in as well, just getting comfortable, because this is something that I don't do on the regular. So it's just like, once that camera's on, I feel like, there's hundreds of thousands of people watching me. So, so just getting comfortable in front of the camera. Yeah. So you can be like your true, genuine, authentic self.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's so hard to do. And that's one of the things I think about when I podcast is like, I want to come off as chill and relaxed as I want the person I'm talking to be. Yeah. Or to feel comfortable being. Right? Because if I'm like this, then they're going to be like this, and that's not what I want. Right. And then usually that chillness kind of rubs off the longer their conversation goes. Exactly. Just like a relationship with anybody you're starting. Exactly. First dates, everybody's on point.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. And then later on, you finally get to relax and chill. When you guys both get Mexican one night and y'all just blow up the toilets, and you're like, damn,
in her bathroom.
In her bathroom. And then it's like,
and there's no wet wipes left over.
Yeah. I left all my dude wipes at home.
Do you have any washcloths? Just like to wash my face.
Are they black? They're not white, right? Shit. Yeah. But once you get past that, then you get to relax, and you're like, oh, yeah, we both have diarrhea. Yeah. Got it. All right. So we can't put up that front like we don't shit anymore. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And then the relationship changes. You can talk about different things. And you're like, damn, yeah, it wasn't as bad as how much my butthole was on fire 3 weeks ago. And you're like, yeah, me too. It's like
the flow and energy just, it's different. Yeah. Sure. And the camera and the microphone and the headphones go away, and you're just having a conversation with somebody. Right. So that's all this is.
Yeah, it really is. That's why I love keeping that dog crate right there.
Why is that?
Dude, it's a dog crate. Oh. Does this look like real businessy?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Right. I like that.
Yeah.
And then if I got a studio eventually, I would try to make it as comfortable as possible. Right. Little things that I like my books, little statues and stuff like that, just to make it chill. Yeah.
Almost like a living room in a house.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you want.
Inviting, people over just to have a conversation.
Right. Yeah. It's really,
versus just like a studio / like, you're on the news or.
Yeah. 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 I don't want that
like
feel.
Or like a radio host.
Yeah.
We're coming at you live here in Los Angeles, California.
Dude.
The Cody Lowe podcast.
Isn't it funny that like you kind of go into a rhythmic, like everybody knows exactly what you just said. That's radio voice.
Right.
You know what I mean? like and like you listen to news anchors. They all report the news in the same cadence. Out here in Lafayette, talked to a couple of the parents of the football players, and they've got some things to say. Here's Janice.
Thanks, Tom. I have here Mr. Yeah.
You get right into it.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, that's kind of crazy that like everybody who is in that profession knows they can't just talk regular. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like you can't have you can't be regular talking. You got to be news anchor talk.
That's why I can never be a news anchor.
You'd be like, dude,
go against the grain of everything.
I'm at the Little League football team today, or football game, and they got squashed.
Yeah.
Like it was really bad. I feel bad for all these parents. We're going to talk to a few of them, but like between you and I, demolished. Yeah.
Destroyed.
Yeah. A couple ankles broke.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, man. Yeah, you think about like conversations. Like I was watching the Tucker Carlson Putin interview. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it.
You haven't watched it yet.
And my favorite thing was also my least favorite thing, which was the ending. I loved how it ended. It was right at 2 hours. And you really kind of, at least I felt like you got a little bit more out of Vladimir Putin than I've seen before, talking about the soul of Russia and the soul of the Russian people. But also it ended. It was just like, oh, it's the 2 hour mark. It's going to get so much better after this. And then it ended. I was like, damn. Because we've talked about this, like, you know, after that 2 hour mark, like after 2 hours of talking, people get relaxed. They've talked themselves out. And then you just have more of a free-flowing conversation. Yeah. Things come up that you just wouldn't come up before 2 hours.
Yeah.
There's something about time that affects, you know, a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Are we coming up on the 2 hour mark?
We are, yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. Kuna's like, oh, yeah. Silly ass dog. Silly ass dog. But, yeah, man. All right, so, you know, we were both trainers. What, you know, your view of training has, like, and working out has changed drastically, too, in the past 10 years. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you were training a certain way.
Yeah.
For a certain look, for a certain vibe.
Yeah. Heavy,
for a certain identity.
Hard, intense.
Yeah.
Just all out all the time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, now it's more of a longevity approach and also just like figuring out what works into like the lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it's like morning workouts are more like cardiovascular high intensity just because I'm doing it fasted. Mm-hmm. And like evenings, if I get in on the evenings, I got more food in me, so I'm able to like hit it harder. So, yeah, I just feel like going in, and I guess my intention behind the workout is obviously a lot different. I'm not trying to like destroy my body. I'm more so thinking like, you know, I'm building my body up and prolonging this. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because before with the whole, you know, bodybuilding and whatnot, it's just like, yeah, break apart the muscle fibers and break it down. And
battling with the weights
and my demons inside me.
Yeah.
You know, but now it's just like.
All while listening to Creed.
Yeah, exactly. Or Slipknot.
Yeah. Either one.
So, yeah, totally different methodology.
Yeah, it is.
Especially after my back injury. Mm-hmm. You know, it's definitely gave me that opportunity, a forced opportunity to not train, you know, because it's been, I can't remember the last time I took that much time off, if ever, in my whole entire exercise existence. So yeah, just looking at it, you know, differently. And, you know, my body is, you know, 36 is not where I was at 26, but I'm learning what my body's capable of doing right now, and I hope to continually improve that. So also from a cardiovascular standpoint as well, because I think that's getting back into that cardiovascular shape is where I'm going to be shifting my focus and attention.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, man. I you know, you do all these different styles of training, and then like now I'm just like, okay, I'm going to be in here for an hour. Pick and choose some exercises, hit a certain piece of cardio equipment, you know, round intervals on that, or just a certain amount of time, and then hit weights in a certain way that I enjoy, like post session, man. I was telling you, my workouts have just been more pleasant, almost like, obviously enjoyable, but, and I think I just kind of, I'm enjoying, I'm not, when you work really hard and you get your heart rate up and you're like, yeah, I'm pushing, like that connection to some pain back when you were younger.
Yeah.
Is like, it's almost like you can't remember what it was, but it's that feeling. And then when you get your heart rate up, or when you're thinking about quitting, that feeling comes back and you're like, I'm not going to stop. You know what I mean? When I'm getting that feeling now, I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, that's cool. Like it's not an opposing force that I have to battle against. It's almost like damn, I've been through some stuff.
Yep.
That's cool.
Heck yeah.
Like I get to, kind of like how my realization with my injuries, where I was like, oh, these are my injuries. Nice. I get to struggle with back pain now.
Yep.
I've got, dude, I was telling Courtney, I was laying in the bed during the session, and my shoulder was throbbing. And my shoulder never hurts. My left shoulder that I've got issues with, but it never hurts laying down flat on my back. And dude, it was throbbing. And it was almost like just kind of like bringing my awareness to like, damn, dude, I've done some shit with my body.
Yeah.
Like, and I get to own that.
Yeah.
Because like injuries are like, oh, unless it's a freak accident, you get hit by a car or something, right? But like, you and I put our bodies through shit, and there's a pride there that we should have, And I kind of reconnected with that, like, oh shit, yeah, I get to have these,
yeah,
and it was so apparent because it was throbbing the whole time.
You feel like you're like releasing something from it as well?
I don't know if I was releasing anything.
How's it feel now?
Fine, no issues.
Yeah.
Like I never have pain in my shoulder.
Okay.
I just have like a little instability, and like if I overhead press a lot, I will feel it.
Yeah.
In my shoulder. But yeah, dude, nothing has ever made my shoulder just randomly start throbbing, especially laying flat on my back for 8 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was almost like it was just kind of bringing that to my attention.
Okay.
But I don't know why I started talking about that, but there's just my workouts, that emotional, like angst, that gets you at that high heart rate. It's not as antagonistic.
Okay.
It seems now. It's more like something I get to embrace. Wow, yeah. You wouldn't want to do hard stuff if you didn't have that.
Yeah, exactly. What's the point?
Yeah. And we know people who, haven't been through tough stuff and haven't felt like it was tough, or, and then they don't, they are who they are, and it's not something they struggle with.
Comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny to think about like things you go through, and it's like, well, was that really that traumatic? No. But how did I feel about it? Like I felt like that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And like I'm not gonna let that happen again. Another person that could have happened to, and they'd be like, yeah, well, that happens. So,
life happens.
And not battle against it.
Right.
They
just accept it.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes I guess when you're younger, you just don't realize what battles you're starting.
Yeah.
you know, because of who you are, because of how you were raised, nurture, nature, neighborhood. But you're just picking battles.
Yep.
You know?
So true.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like, you know, we have to like, I mean that, you know, it's basic awareness stuff, right? Oh shit, I picked these battles? Oh, okay. So I got to be more aware of the fact that I pick battles. Okay, interesting. All right. All right, so what battle should I be picking? Yeah, should I be picking?
So worth my time.
Yeah, what's worth my time?
What's worth my energy? Does it serve me right now?
Yeah. Man,
that's where I go.
You're absolutely right, man.